Today on our 2011 Mercury Mariner, we'll be installing the Blue Ox baseplate kit with removable arms, part number BX2605. Now after opening the hood on our Mariner, we'll take our 10mm socket and remove the bolts from the top corners of the grill. You'll need to do this on both sides of the grill. We'll now raise the vehicle up, and just forward of the front tires, on the inside wheel well, we'll remove the 3 push pins. Again, we'll need to do this on both sides of the vehicle. We'll then continue down to the front under bottom opening. We'll need to remove these push pins. There are 2 on this, securing the fascia to the bumper itself. Now underneath the vehicle, we'll need to use our 10mm socket again to remove the 7 bolts from underneath the fascia. There are 2 here attached to the inner fender wells on either side. And then there are 3 more attaching the fascia to the core support. Now with all our hardware removed from the fascia, we're ready to disconnect it from the vehicle. Here on the front fenders, we'll pull the fascia away, exposing the white pin. We'll then remove the white pin, which will allow the fascia to pull away slightly. We'll then move forward toward the headlight on the fascia, where we'll continue to pull it out and expose another white pin. We'll also need to remove this white pin, which will free the fascia from the vehicle. Now be careful with these pins, as they are very small and they do need to be reinstalled when you're putting your fascia back on. Now as we remove the fascia, we'll want to make sure we get our fog lights unplugged here as well as on the other side. Now that we have the front fascia off, we'll need to remove the air dam. We'll lift the brace over the catch on the top here. Then remove the push pin on the bumper here. We'll do this on both sides of the vehicle. Where we can then just simply pull on the bottom of the air dam to remove it in one piece. We'll set it aside, as we will need to reinstall it later. We'll now take a 13mm socket and remove the 2 bolts on each side, here and here. With those bolts undone, we'll now remove the temperature gauge here on the bumper. After installing our base plates, it will be relocated. We're now ready to put our base plate into position. It'd be a good idea to get an extra set of hands to help you hold the base plate while you install your hardware. Now here in the weld nuts, where we removed our old hardware, we'll be installing the 40mm hex bolts with lock washer. Now on the top hole, we'll also need to use the flat washers. All of this hardware is included with the base plate. Now with those installed, we'll move on to the 2 innermost holes. Now in order to attach these, we will need to use our handle nuts. We'll slide them through between the bumper and the bumper support here to the back side. We'll take our bolt, 2 lock washers, and the 1 flat washer and install it into the vehicle. Remember to keep the bolt with the flat washer on the top side. Now we'll go ahead and run our hardware down without tightening it up, just to hold the base plate in position. We'll now move down here to the 2 bottom holes. Again, we'll need our handle nuts, but we'll first need to open up an access hole. Using an 1¼ inch hole saw, we'll open up this hole here on the core support by first drilling a pilot and then using our 1¼ inch hole saw to create the hole. This will allow us to get our handle nuts into position. Now here on the bottom, we'll use our bolt, lock washer, spacer, and the handle nut to attach here. Now before tightening down your hardware, you do want to make sure you have red Loctite in the threads. This will further secure your base plate and keep the bolts from walking out over time. This is recommended by Blue Ox. The spacer will go between the core support and the base plate. With the spacer in, we can slide our bolt through with the lock washer, slide our handle nut into the 1¼ inch hole that we just drilled, and attach it to our bolt. We'll do this for both bolts down here on our core support. You'll need to do this on both sides of the vehicle. Now that all our hardware is in place, we can go ahead and tighten it down and torque it to specification as indicated in the instructions. With our base plate secured, we're now ready to install our permanent base plate safety cables. Wrap it around our frame. Now there are 2 tabs welded to the base plate, and the kit does come with 2 quick links as well as 2 cables, so we'll need to do this on both sides of the vehicle. Now that we have our safety cables on and our base plate is secure, we're ready to start putting our vehicle back together. We'll begin by putting the air dam back on. Now you'll notice with the air dam that the base plate does interfere with the installation. So we'll need to cut the air dam so that the air dam fits over the base plate. We'll go ahead and dry fit the air dam just to get an idea of where we're going to need to cut it. Once we've done that, we'll draw a few lines and make our cuts. You will have to do this on both sides of the air dam. With it cut, we can now put it into place. We'll reinstall the clip here on the passenger side, holding the air dam to the bumper. Now here on the driver's side, we'll grab our temperature gauge that we removed earlier and you'll notice that it has an attachment here. We will need to cut off this tab first. We'll then use the temperature gauge as the hold down for the air dam. This will relocate your air temperature gauge as well as hold the air dam in place. With that done, we can reinstall our front fascia. Now, as you're putting the fascia back on, remember to plug the fog lights back in on both the driver's side as well as the passenger side. Well, we'll put the two 10mm bolts that we took out from the top loosely into place. This will help hold the fascia while we work to get it secured. Underneath, we'll reinstall the 7 bolts that we took out earlier. We're now moved back to the wheel wells. Now these little white pins will be very hard to get back into place, but with a little patience, you can get them in there. We used a plastic pry bar to help us hold the fascia down so that we could install the white pins. With the white pins in, we can now reinstall the 3 push pins here holding the inner fender well to the fascia itself. With that done on both sides, we'll move up to the two 10mm bolts that we loosely installed and tighten them down. Now our Blue Ox base plates do come with 2 detachable tabs that we'll use to connect to the RV. They slide in and twist 90 degrees to lock into place. To release them, we'll pull the ring, twist them 90 degrees, and remove them from the base plate. And that'll complete the installation of the Blue Ox base plate kit, part number BX2605, on our 2011 Mercury Mariner.